25th. I am so glad you can join live if you are joining live. If you're watching on the replay, then it's great that you can watch the replay. But for those of you who made the time in the middle of the day, I'm so thrilled you're here. It is 1 o'clock Atlantic. It is 12 Eastern. It is, how's my math? 9 Pacific, and the ones in between, it's that time. So good to see all of you. It's been 2 weeks since I've been on Friday Live, but the questions never stop. So it's not like I'm running out of material or things to say or questions from you, intrepid officiants. If you are here in the chat, I would love for you to say hi and where you are joining from. Make sure you stay ready to ask questions. I am definitely here for that as well. I like to go, if it's your first time joining, I like to go about half an hour so that you don't feel like it's a big arduous decision to pop in. I love to kind of share with you for 10-15 minutes about the topic of the day. And today, of course, is about that photo moment that so many couples are adding to their wedding ceremony. I've seen it popping up more and more in my ceremonies, or clients, of course, of Unboring Wedding Academy, or my coaching clients are asking me about it because just more and more couples want an unplugged ceremony. That's typically what we call it when we say, put your cameras and your devices away. We don't want to see those. The photographer typically doesn't want to see those during the processional. But that means you lose all of the great photos that can come from your guests. So how do you get the best of both worlds? Well, it's the photo moment. So we'll talk more about that. Okay, so we got, let's see. I already said hello to the people who are jumping into the chat. Cantor Mark, of course, wins. He was here way early. I think Ruth said she was here way early as well. So Ruth and Mark, you can battle it out as to who was here first. But Mark said hello when I logged on. So you beat me to my own presentation, Mark. I'm sure you beat me at a lot of things. Foot race, hot dog eating contest. And this is one of them as well. Lisa, good to see you here. Donald from Virginia. Yeah, I'd love to see where you're joining from. John's here from Thornbury, Ontario, my old stomping grounds of the GTA. Paul is here. Good to see you from Trumbull, Connecticut. Hey, I love that you love the Friday sessions. I do too. I was in Prince Edward Island last week with the family, eating way too much poutine and ice cream. And potato chips and chocolate, potato chips covered with chocolate, potato chips on chocolate ice cream cones. Prince Edward Island introduced me to how glorious potato chips and chocolate are together. I would never have thought it, but PEI is known for its potatoes. It's kind of like the Idaho of the US. PEI is for potatoes in Canada. But they also do the chocolate on the potato chips. Man, try it if you haven't. It's just really, maybe don't invent it at home. Don't melt a chocolate bar. Do it right. Let the professionals do it. But I was away for a week and missed it last Friday. I love coming on here and engaging with you. So many officiants and celebrants from all over the world. Great to see you here. So Suzanne is here. Ruth says you'll DM me. Okay, is that a promise or a threat? Or what's going on, Ruth? I'll hear from you. Good. Nancy's here from Long Island. Good to see you. Nina from San Antonio. Nina, we just had a email exchange this morning about the spam you're getting through your website. Congratulations, you've arrived. You're getting awful spam because you have a professional website. I get like a dozen a day. So welcome to that world. There's complications around that, obviously, but when your phone number is out there, when your email address is out there, when your website is out there, there's ways to mitigate against that. But when you are a professional, it happens. It's not fun. You got to just deal with it. So good to see you, Nina. Stay strong. You're joining from Thousand Oaks. Okay, that's where Mark is. We never know where he's going to be. He could be at a Whole Foods shopping for avocados. Yep, I mentioned it again. I said it again. We don't know. It's usually somewhere in California. Yeah, there you go. SoCal, home of the hurricane. Wasn't there also a flood in there, though, Mark? Wasn't there a period where it was like flood, hurricane, earthquake, all happening at the same time? full on apocalyptic conditions in California. Hope you're staying safe. Lots of wildfires happening in the world. Oh my goodness. We're not going to get bogged down with that. Iris is here from Massachusetts. Okay, pretty close to me. Whenever I go to Wedding MBA or anywhere in the States, I drive to Boston typically and fly out from there because I'm just 5 hours from Boston or so. That's pretty cool. I'm getting to know Massachusetts a little bit. Frida's here. Hello, Frida Mac. And Mark's commenting on Ruth. Judith is here from Toronto. Stephanie from California. Ruth is in southern New Jersey. All right. Oh, Mark is saying he's stepping away. All right. Going radio silent in the chat. Fine. I'm going to get to the content here. I absolutely love that you're here. And like I say, if I miss your question as I talk about the topic today, feel free to, at the end, I'll kind of have a roundup, a last call. Hey, I'm looking in the chat at the comments. Now's your chance. Eternal Unions, Weddings, and Reggie's Mobile Notary. I almost said reggae. That would be an interesting niche. Maybe you do reggae music. But Reggie is here in Orlando. Good to see you. Ingrid from Arizona. Kavina in Georgia. Love it. Okay, so Dimples is here. I love that. I'm sure that's your legal name. Sorry, Reggie. I'm glad you're laughing. maybe I helped you with a new niche there. Reggie's Reggae Mobile Notary. Always looking for that unique selling point. I will be selling sales proposition. I'll be talking a bit about that in Vegas at Wedding MBA. What's your unique selling proposition? And maybe yours can be reggae with Reggie, wedding officiants. Workshop it, see if there's a market. Back to what we're here to talk about, the question of the week, the question that I get asked all the time. And again, stay with me in the chat if you got any follow-ups. I've basically got kind of 3 steps to what I would say a wedding officiant can properly say and do to introduce this photo moment. Ruth said she was just she just wrote a passage for her Sunday's wedding, so it's coming up in a couple of days. And Ruth is wondering what I do. Ruth, I'm wondering what you do. We can collaborate. Like you say, DMs. I guess you're going to rate me on what you decided to say. And so basically here goes. I do want to talk at the end about something that I really think discovered recently in the last wedding I did is, I think, a crucial addition to the photo moment. And it really, really makes it work. I was super impressed with it. The planner came up to me after and said, I haven't seen anybody do that. That really, really worked well. And I was like, thank goodness I did that. So little teaser, stay tuned for that. But in terms of the flow of a wedding ceremony and how you tell people to take their phones out and execute that photo moment without it being really awkward, really dry, really uncomfortable. I mean, you can do that if you want. I'm one who's just always looking for, if you're doing a wedding ritual or something in the ceremony, there's always like that. We don't want to be afraid of silence. That's really meaningful. But it can also, there's like a fine line of like when things are too quiet and then an awkwardness starts to fill the space. I like to mitigate that when I can. Some silences are, pregnant with meaning and heaviness, proper weight of what's happening, the seriousness of the moment. And others are just like, oh, that could have been executed a little better. And I think for 10 years I've been trying to figure out that dance between those two things. The first step to me properly introducing a photo moment. I know, well, I'll preface this by saying Mark said, to photo moment or not to photo moment. And for me, it's, as I always say, the couple are the boss. We always do what our couple asks. Now, if they have not a good idea, then of course we typically say, okay, let me advise you of the risks of doing the thing that you are thinking right now. Hi, Liz. Good to see you. And so, sometimes couples see things on TikTok and it's not a great idea. I think I went on a rant recently on one of these about, the couple, instead of charging out in the processional, and then of course you let everybody go. There's this idea, I don't know who did it, I think it's awful, of the couple going to each aisle and letting kind of shaking hands and hugging everybody aisle, like row by row by row by row. And the first time I saw that, I said, that'll never work. The second time I saw it, within a week of, again, all my clients and stuff, couples asking for this. Then the third in 2 weeks, I was like, I've never heard of this in my life. And suddenly everybody's doing it. I'm sure that was some influencer on TikTok, but you don't want to slow down that. You want to leave to, big celebration, and your guests don't want that grinding. Think about if you had 15 rows. How are the people in the last 5 rows thinking when the couple has to shake hands and hug every single row? And then, of course, those first few rows get off to their drinks and the cocktail hour 15 minutes before the back rows. I just think it's an awful idea. So that's an example of, if you're in your workshop with your couple, of course, the way that I teach it and do it, 4 to 6 weeks before the day, I meet with a couple and we plan through this stuff. And that's where I hear their preferences. I'm writing everything down in a spreadsheet, and I'm advising them if they have certain ideas that I think are not going to pull off quite the best way. And this is true of the photo moment. A lot of couples have asked, I'd like to have a photo moment. I want an unplugged ceremony. I don't want any photo cameras or phones in the wedding ceremony. But how can we get some pictures from the guests? So that's where the photo moment comes from. I actually love the idea. I don't advise against it. So when a couple wants it, I think this is absolutely a great idea. Yeah, Mark says the aisle hugging super momentum buzzkill. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying. You never want to come between guests and their cocktail hour. I think somebody advised couples, this saves you from having to float around during the reception or the cocktail hour and shake hands. And it's like, well, I just think that that's the more decent thing to do than stop everybody row by row. Anyway, that's not what this session's about. So, this is the way to execute the photo moment, the way that I do it, the way that I think is the best in terms of flow. Ruth wrote this, and maybe some of you in the chat have done this because it's very, very prevalent. The key to, I think, setting this up well is something I've been harping on for years and have been teaching inside Unboring Wedding Academy since it went live back in 2017, and that is your opening remarks. This is one of the secrets, and I don't want to turn this into an apologetic for opening remarks, why you should do them, why they are crucial. I get on the phone with coaching clients who get my quick help package, and maybe they've never heard of this, and maybe planners have never seen this, but that moment when you step up there and you turn and you look at 100 pairs of eyes, 200 pairs of eyes looking back at you, that's the gulp moment. That's the moment where you feel the nerves. And I do it every weekend. I look out at everybody and I say, well, good afternoon, everyone. And nobody says anything back. And I don't mean like just maybe 2 or 3 people are like a bad showing after, during an afternoon session at a lunch meeting or something where, half the room says it. I mean, people are typically taught in weddings to keep their mouths shut unless otherwise indicated. And that's why I say, all right, this is a celebration. Can we try that again? Good afternoon, everybody. And that's all it takes. Everybody's shouting back, good afternoon. And then I say, are you ready for Jesse and Sam to get married today? And everybody cheers and claps and stuff. And so that's the indicator. So that does a couple of things. You're establishing a rapport with the guests, but also you're shaking off your nerves. On Monday morning, when I follow up with my clients and I know they've done a wedding on the weekend, I ask them, how was it? And the overwhelming report over the many years is that moment. I was nervous until, 200 people were shouting and cheering and behind me. And that is absolutely key to shaking off the nerves, establishing rapport, and signaling to everybody that we are allowed to have fun in this wedding ceremony. Now, some couples say, don't go too far. I don't want my wedding to be, super participatory. I think that's getting more and more rare, but some couples do say that. And this is where I say, as officiants and celebrants, friends, this is kind of a cheat for us. The ceremony has not technically started yet. You might be up there with one of the marriers who's not walking down the aisle. You might be up there alone or just with the marrier's party because maybe they're both walking in the procession or something like that. Whatever happens, it hasn't started yet, technically. The processional has not happened yet. This is moments after you walked up, say, with some attendance, a wedding party. Maybe one of the marriers sat a parent and then joined you because the other marrier is coming down in the processional, however that goes. But it hasn't started yet. So it's kind of like, I like to push back and say, well, okay, even if a bride or groom are saying don't make the ceremony too fun and rambunctious, I'm not sure that's my style. We want to respect that. This is like, it doesn't count. It's not. It's before, and so you're loosening all the guests up. This is crucial for the photo moment. Now, again, I say it's crucial for the love story that I teach and tell in every single wedding I officiate. I want to tell your love story. If you don't want your love story told, I'm not your guy. You need to find another officiant. That's just kind of how I market myself. And I talk about, what your ideal client is. You want to know that. But this is huge for loosening everybody up, not just for the love story, where you want people laughing and boisterous. And I did a wedding 2 weeks ago where the bride kept cutting in and telling the story ahead of me, and I had to tell her. I think I told you guys this. Who's telling the story, me or you? And we had a really good laugh about it. And the guests were constantly interrupting. That sounds like you. It was just so much fun. And the reason why guests were comfortable doing that is because of the early signals that I sent them. So when you loosen up everybody in those opening remarks, typically you introduce yourself. Hi, my name is so and so. Don't do that after the processional. I see that in a lot of scripts where the opening remarks are super formal, almost like a disembodied voice. Please turn off your phones and make sure everything's on airplane mode, and we will begin. And there's no reason to do that. And then the introduction, for some reason, comes after the processional. The opening remarks are the time to say, hi there, everybody. Are you ready? My name is Mark. I am thrilled to be the officiant today. A couple of things for you to know. Please put your phones away. Turn your cameras. No photos during the ceremony, please. And if it's an unplugged, if it's an unplugged ceremony, that's what you say. But if there's a photo moment, then you say, however, keep them handy. Please put them away now. We don't want to see them during the processional. And this is where I always mention the photographer. Francis is taking pictures. We want to let them do their thing and not be, you don't want to be in the shots. We want to let them have every picture they need to take. However, there will be a moment after the processional where you are invited to have a photo moment of the couple. They will pose for you and you will take out your pictures, and we'll just give a short, brief moment before we get into the ceremony elements where you can take a picture of the couple. So that's the extent of it. And again, that motivates people to properly put their phones away, because you always have one or two guests that are like, I'm not sure I want to do it. I'm gonna try it anyway. So we want to mitigate that. We want guests to actually trust that they can. And then we also want to, warn them that the time will be provided. So, keep your phones handy. And then immediately, of course, we say, please put your phones on airplane mode. We don't want anything going off. So that is the risk of, like, if people keep them handy, maybe they didn't turn them off, but you still do the thing where please check to make sure everything is off. So the opening remarks, like I say, promise the guests that moment is coming. But it also, the photo moment, I think, should be a real moment of levity. Lots of fun, casual. When I do it, people are laughing. We'll get there in a second, but there's some hamming it up that might happen. Again, you'll want to check this with your couple. But if you want the couple smiling in these photos and looking great, not like, the 1840 portrait with a pitchfork or something. If you want the couple up there looking like, effervescent, like they're getting married, then when that moment is fun, it just lends itself to great pictures coming from the guests. And of course, the photographer will love taking pictures of the guests taking photos of your couple. So it should be nice and energetic. Okay, so once you give your opening remarks, you say again, sorry, I always close the opening remarks by saying, so are we ready? Should we get Jesse and Sam hitched? Should we do it? And then everybody cheers. Then I say, let's begin. Once you say, let's begin, the processional starts and the processional happens, and it's properly heavy and weighty and crying. And, if you ask the question of a parent, do you give your blessing and support? And they say, I do, or parents say, we do, or whatever. Then the marrier comes, they're standing in front of you holding hands. Okay, processional has happened. So again, you've warned people in the opening remarks, you've broken the ice, you've kind of set a casual, fun tone. The processional is properly heavy and weighty and all those good things. And then they're standing in front of you. And I believe that right off the top is the best place to introduce the photo moment. And so, of course, I'll give you a hack. The first words out of my mouth, again, it's not time to reintroduce yourself or anything like that. I always take a deep breath, look out at the guests, and say, well, friends, here they are. Jesse and Sam are here today to finally get married, and they are just perfect for each other. Can I get a? And I ask for crowd guest engagement here. This is another little tip. Guests will not spontaneously do anything in terms of like as a group applause or cheer in a wedding ceremony. They just won't do it unless you ask. But when you ask, it's an overwhelming response. So, I see sometimes clients send me a script and they say like applause or cheers in brackets. That's not going to happen unless you ask for it. The exception, of course, is when you get everybody on their feet at the very end and present for the first time, or the kiss. People typically know how to behave in those moments. But at other moments in the ceremony, you need to ask for it. In my experience, people won't just spontaneously burst into cheers or applause. Unless you say something like, let's give it up for. So I always, at the end of my love story, for example, say, let's give it up for Jesse and Sam. They did it, after a successful proposal story, clap, clap, clap. So that's something I teach in my Unboring Wedding Academy, of these crucial moments where you're engaging the guests and asking for response and get cheers and clapping and things. So one of those is right off the top. After the processional, the couple is standing there and you say, here they are, they're just perfect. Can I get an amen? I'll read the room. Can I get a heck yeah? If it's a rougher crowd and they've all got a drink in their hand and there's no kids, I'll say, can I get a hell yeah? And everybody, hell yeah. No insult if you're tuning in here and you've seen me do this and I just said rougher crowd is hell yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, he said hell yeah at my wedding. Does that mean we were a rougher crowd? I just mean like, it's grown-ups. It seems a bit boisterous. It might be a bit of a rated R ceremony. It's the same thing where sometimes when somebody gets proposed to in the love story, like when they got proposed to, they dropped the F-bomb because they were so shocked. And again, I'll read the room. Sometimes I'll say, and she said, he asked, will you marry me? And she said, what the F? If it's a more mature setting, I will actually say the word and it gets a bigger laugh, of course. So you're using your judgment. So same thing here. They're here. They're just perfect. Can I get a amen or something like that? Everybody cheers. And that's the moment where I say, now is the time, as promised, where the couple would really love for you to have photos of them at the front here. But this is an unplugged ceremony. So how are we going to do this? I'm going to step out of the way, and you are invited now to take out your phones. Come on, get those phones and cameras out, everybody. Come on, and everybody starts rummaging. Okay, it's time. I'm going to step out of the way. And typically, if there's a microphone on a stand, I'm taking it with me. And now you have a couple of choices. Okay, it's choose your own adventure, and you want to ask your couple about this in the wedding workshop. So we've just introduced, it's time for the photo moment. Get your phones out. Your couple want you to take photos and post them, or maybe you want even to say not post them, but typically they want them to post them. You don't have to say anything about posting, or if there's a time to give special instructions around that, you definitely want to. But step away, and like I say, now you have a couple of choices. One option is to say nothing, okay? I think I'll start with my least favorite. Just stand there and let them pose, and people take pictures. And it's quiet, and your couple are kind of more or less in charge. They're maybe smiling and facing their guests. That's possible. And then you just step in and say, okay, is everybody done? Great. That's option A. And that is maybe how a lot of people do it. I like to ask my couple if they want me to be a little bit more directive and make this a little bit more fun. So again, we're still working under the model of everybody's got their cameras out and their phones. They're pointing them at your couple. You can step aside and say, all right, we want to recreate the moments that are going to happen in the ceremony. So that to me is a key. We want to recreate the moments that will be coming up. So you can say, Sam and Jesse face each other holding hands. You can be narrating the photos the same way a photographer might. And I think, again, this is ratcheting up the fun because they're going to be kind of laughing and giggling a bit. And depending on how you say it, you can say something like, okay, look into each other's eyes, holding hands. You're falling in love all over again right here at the altar. And they'll do that. And so again, they might be smirking a little bit. Then you might want to say something like, I'm about to present you Mary. Now, when I'm not doing it yet, but I'm about to pronounce you, you're getting really excited. So they'll smile. And then, of course, you might want to turn and say, okay, turn to face your guests now. Do a power pose. Maybe you want them like a superhero pose. Another thing you might want to say is, I don't know if you want to do the kiss. You'll ask your couple. Some couples will be fine kissing right there before they're supposed to kiss. That's something I'd want to ask my couple. A little sneak preview here. Okay, yeah, go ahead, kiss, go ahead. And they'll kiss and get a photo. Another idea is for them to be, okay, you're facing the guests, Sam and Jesse, and I'm just about to present. You're just about to go up the aisle. Raise your hands. And, they might both raise their hands if one of them is a bride and got flowers. So it's kind of like the cheer. You can say, okay, big cheer from the couple. Okay, take your pictures, everybody. And so you're kind of narrating the poses chronologically that will happen in the ceremony. That way everybody feels like they got the shot, even though it wasn't really happening. So that's one option. Again, the two options are you just kind of stand there, let your couple pose for a couple of pictures, and you're not really a presence. The second, the one that I prefer, and of course I asked the couple about the poses, I want them to sign off on it, is where you're being a bit more directive, a bit more fun. You're like, okay, now do this. Okay, everybody got that? Okay, you're talking to the guests. Did everybody get that shot? And then you're directing your couple to take a different pose, and you're saying, we are recreating the ceremony. That's option one. Obviously, my style, I prefer to do something like that and be having really fun time. The second one you might have heard about recently is the selfie. This is something, again, I think social media is making this popular, where instead of all the guests pointing their cameras at the couple and they're kind of posing, the selfie, you are saying the couple want you to take a selfie, everyone. Does everybody understand what a selfie is? So you're kind of walking guests through that. It's a lot of fun. People are laughing. So we're saying that means everybody turn around, get your selfie camera going, and get your own face and the couple in your shot. So that, friends, is a lot less directive because you're not going to have your couple hamming it up the same way. It's the guests who are trying to get your couple and their own face in the shot. The selfie is really fun. And so when I did this at a wedding 2 weeks ago, I stepped aside, again, take the mic with you, get right out of the shot. And you're kind of like having fun. Say, okay, everybody, how are we doing? Is the front row getting? Because people are going to be all trying to get the angle, and it's really fun. And again, I didn't need to be directive there because it's less posed. The couple, and they are. It's funny because quite naturally, the couple was looking at which guests were kind of ready with their camera. It was like, if it's 40 people, it's different than if it's 200 people. But I remember they'd see Aunt so-and-so and they're smiling at that camera. And it's a lot more fun and interactive. And that's why, as promised, I wanted to tell you what the big secret is. I got the idea right before the ceremony. The first time I did this, I was just looking at it and thinking about it and being like, it's going to be chaotic and it's going to take a while. It's different than couples, guests taking out and snapping a camera shot, because everyone's like angling and bustling and it's a lot of fun. And I thought, this is going to probably be a few minutes of chaos, even though I say it's a photo minute or a photo moment. And that's where I went to the DJ and the planner and I said, I think we need some music during that. And they were like, okay. And they were looking at the playlist, and the planner chose a great song. Now doing this again from then on, I asked the couple, okay, if it's a selfie moment, choose a really fun song to be playing there. Think of like late night shows you've watched where something's happening, a guest is coming down from the audience, the band starts to play, right? Just to fill the silence. It's the same kind of thing. I would say that selfie moment, again, maybe not necessarily the one where you are directing the couple to pose, because it's typically a bit shorter, but the selfie one is more chaotic, takes longer. And we played a really fun song during that time. Everybody's feet were tapping. Everybody was laughing. Suddenly this party atmosphere broke out. And afterwards, the planner and the DJ and I just went back there, and she was like, "That was such a great idea. Like, thank goodness for the music. It was still a fun atmosphere, but it added even more." So that's the tip I would give you. Summing up here, because it is the bottom of the hour, and I haven't even gotten to questions, but I plan to do that. You got your two. So break the ice with the opening remarks. Warn them that it's coming. Then right off the top, they're here. Can I get a heck yeah or an amen, cheer, cheer? It's that moment. Take them out, and then you just direct. I'm going to get out of the way, and you're just describing what's happening. They're going to pose for you. Now we're going to recreate moments in the ceremony. Or everybody, they want a selfie with you. So turn those cameras around, okay? And we're going to take a picture. Let's play some music. Okay, how's it going? Is everybody getting the shot? And you're just kind of talking to the guests. And they're like, no, no, wait. And it's a lot of fun. So those are kind of like your two choose your own adventure, the posing or the selfie. And again, your other option is just to get out of the way and stand there and say nothing. There's no music. You're not being directive. I wouldn't choose that one personally, but that might be your couple's style. When it's over, you kind of feel the sense, okay, everybody, I think it's fine. We're good. Okay. And that's where I step back in and I say, all right, everybody, let's act like this is a wedding ceremony again. Okay. Let's get back into wedding ceremony mode. People are laughing and putting their devices away. And then we're just right back in. This is where I look out and I say, how did Jesse and Sam get here today? I want to tell you the story of how these two ended up in front of us today. And then off we go to the love story. So that is, to me, the best part. Again, I love breaking the ice after the processional anyway. You break the ice in the opening remarks, but it gets a bit tense again during the processional. Maybe people were crying. Maybe you were crying. I know I've had some close calls in some of my weddings where it's very emotional. And I'm typically, a 3 in the Enneagram in the heart center. And I'm a bit of a crier sometimes. So I try to keep it together. But then we move right. That's why I like to break the ice again. Here, they're perfect each other. Can I get an amen? All right, as promised, it is time for photo, blah, blah, blah. And you're breaking the ice. And then the love story, everyone's so loose by then, you feel like you've known each other for years. And there's lots of laughter and boisterous energy. And it's super great that way. Okay, so that is what I recommend. I'm going to dive into the chat now and see what are the responses to that. Any questions at all? Ruth says, yep, do that too. All right, whew. Good. Reggie said, I do that. Okay, Suzanne says you're about to do it tomorrow. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful, Suzanne, because you're about to crack the ice on that. And like I say, I do notice that it's getting more popular, so I was really happy to get on here today. I used to be intimidated by it, and now I'm super excited when a couple wants to do it. I just think it's great. I don't know yet if I'm suggesting it with my couple. I don't typically make a lot of do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this in a wedding ceremony in our workshop? Because there's just 1,000 things you can do in a wedding ceremony. So I'm not typically in the habit of randomly asking them if they want to add this, that, or the other. They typically have an idea. I just ask them, do you want to add anything? For sure. And of course I ask them if they want to add a ritual. Do they want to add a religious element? So I kind of categorize it. But when I ask them, do you want to add anything else you've seen at a wedding? A lot of time they might say the photo moment. Jamie, you're here. Good to see you. Jamie in Mallorca. Julie's here. Any questions about this at all? Airplane mode or silence? Yep. Kavina is chatting with Mark. That's awesome. Good. Liz, you love the idea. Suzanne, I have only just had the forms back for the stories, which is the quickest way to put the information together, and the wedding is tomorrow. I have only just had the forms back for the stories, which is the quick. So are you asking what's the quickest way to put the information together? Man, Suzanne, I wish my love story generator were completely ready for you. This is an example. I didn't plan to talk about this today, but I have been using this tool that I'm going to roll out to Unboring Wedding Academy members on Tuesday. This Tuesday is our members only office hours. Members, I told you about this. I have been using it. It is incredible. You put your couple's answers in, and I have been tweaking the prompts and the recipe, and it cranks out in about 30 seconds an incredible 3-act love story. What used to take us 3 hours now takes about 30 seconds. And of course, you want to tweak it a little bit, but I'm so excited to roll this out. And Suzanne, this is a case of that would be really helpful for you. I know that doesn't help you at all right now. So the quickest way, of course, is to just inside the course, look at stage 4. use that checklist that the 8-step checklist that I'm still going to recommend when you use the love story generator. That's going to go right into the academy starting in a couple weeks. It's going to be available to all members as just part of the course. And so I would say, I still say run it through that 8-point checklist, like tell the story in present tense, make sure you're choosing a perspective, that kind of thing. But just quickly go in there in stage 4, because I know you're a member and you can grab that checklist and just kind of fold their answers together. What happened? How did they feel? What happened? How did they feel? I know you're in a bit of I can tell you're going to be working on that today all day. Iris, good. Love the idea. Nina, awesome. Good. Let me see if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I can pop off here because I've probably taken up enough of your time. Mark says, I asked them about the photo moment. If they don't volunteer it, they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. So you can, but again, you have to prioritize. You just have to make choices about what you offer them in a wedding ceremony, because there's no end to what you can offer them. There's 1,000 wedding ceremony elements. So you just got to decide. I never want the wedding meeting to go longer than 1 hour, because they're busy and you're busy. And I don't want it to be an hour and a half, 2 hours long, because I'm constantly offering things. To me, I assume that a couple is doing their research, thinking about the ceremony. Yes, we are experts, but you know that their TikTok and their feeds and their Instagram are always sending things out to them, and they've been to weddings and things like that. So you just got to prioritize what you offer. And if the photo moment is one of those few things that you specifically offer, then yeah. And if you love doing it, especially, you can cheat a little bit. If there's an element that you love doing more than other things, then maybe you want to offer it. And I am finding that I do love the photo moment more and more, because I'm seeing the results of it contributes to that great spirit of people having fun, guests loving it. It makes for the more ramped up the guests are when we get to the love story, the better the love story time is. So yeah, it is something that I might join you, Mark. I don't know. I got to decide how many things I'm going to propose, and you just prioritize it. Ruth says you tweak the script a bit. Love the airplane mode. Yeah. And again, make that choice. A lot of couples don't want the selfie one, but the ones that do, it's really fun. And that's where I recommend playing music. You might want to consider that even for the one you post. Just ask the DJ, put some low fun music on, something really fun and upbeat as well. Nina, glad that was helpful. Yeah, Mark's on the same page as usual. Love the photo moment. Really breaks any tension and anxiety. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully that was helpful. That's how I do it. That's the best way. That's the way to mitigate the anxiety and the awkwardness. If that should arise, we're just always trying as officiants and celebrants to make these moments smooth, include as many people as we can, and have fun doing it. And again, once you know how fun a wedding ceremony can be, couple laughing, guests engaged, everybody feeling like we're at like a family cookout, that is the feeling that a wedding ceremony can have. Man, once you know, you can't go back. And so the photo moment can really contribute to that. So with no other questions, thank you. Ruth, thank you as usual. You guys make this so fun by showing up live. If you're interested in Unboring Wedding Academy, coming inside the membership, like so many of the names that I recognize here, unboringweddingacademy.com. And like I say, a new feature of that course is soon to be the Unboring Wedding Love Story Generator, where you put your couple's answers in and you hit a button and it is delivered to you in seconds. Pretty much done. What used to take me 3 hours now takes less than a minute. And then, of course, I comb through it and just add a few things, like a bit of my personality. That's where I'm so excited about it, because everybody is a little bit different. That is going to be a feature of Wedding Academy soon. Okay. See you next week. I'm planning on being here again next Friday with another question of the week, maybe rolling out this tool talking about love stories. I don't know. There's lots of questions that I can answer, and I absolutely love doing this. Have a great weekend. If you have a wedding, you're an officiant or celebrant, marry on. All the best to you. I know a lot of you mentioned you got weddings this weekend. You're going to be working on it today. And all the best with your photo moments. Hope it helped, and have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.